Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now it is happening. We are about to see a major move to the upside in the price of Bitcoin once this signal officially confirms, as this reversal signal is still flashing on the chart in the bullish direction, while the price is getting extremely close to a major breakout. So I'll be talking about all of that in just a moment, alongside my next Bitcoin trade that I'm taking right now, alongside Ethereum and Solana later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, taking a look at the weekly Bitcoin chart, and as of right now, the price of Bitcoin is still clearly within the larger bullish trend on the larger time frames, also known as a bull market. And obviously here on the weekly time frame, just in the short term, we had a slight candle wick to the downside below this Fibonacci level, which was sitting at around $60,000, but we never saw that weekly candle close below $60,000. And even if that actually happened, even if we did end up seeing a lot of confirmation actually confirming a break to the downside here on the larger time frames below 60,000, then in that case, we could have potentially seen a move down towards around 51 to 52,000 as the next significant level of support. But once again, we never actually confirmed a weekly candle close below $60,000, at least as of right now. And once again, as I've been saying this entire time, the larger time frames is still looking very bullish. It's just in the somewhat short term here, we are taking a bit of a short term pullback during the larger bullish trend, which is very normal to see. And in fact, usually if we're in a bull market and we're seeing around a 20% pullback, give or take, from high to low, usually those are pretty good opportunities to either buy Bitcoin or to scale into long positions, not financial advice. And so obviously over the last 2 days already at much lower prices here in the short term, over the last 2 days, I was already sharing here on the channel how my trading strategy is to scale into a long position, which I'll talk about in just a moment. But first, taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, and once again, we've seen another drop to the downside here in the DXY over the last 1 day. And so once again, as I've mentioned recently here on the channel, if we're seeing a pullback here in the DXY, that is a bullish signal for Bitcoin and crypto, exactly as we're seeing right now in the price of Bitcoin, just in the short term here. And so basically, if this pullback continues as it has been doing over the last couple of days here in the DXY, then expect more of a bullish recovery here in the price of Bitcoin, basically a short-term bullish reversal. But it's important to understand that nothing moves in a straight line, so even if the DXY drops straight to the downside, do not necessarily expect only straight to the upside bullish price action in the price of Bitcoin, because obviously we can see slight pullbacks here and there, just like how during this pullback to the downside, we saw some slight bounces back to the upside here and there. And so as always, I'll be sure to keep you up to date on what's happening here in the DXY and many other important charts here in these videos every day. So make sure you subscribe to this channel with notifications turned on so that you don't miss out on any of these important update videos. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, we can see right now the daily Bitcoin RSI is finally attempting a breakout above this massive descending line of resistance. And this line of resistance has been in play since around the beginning of March. So for a couple of months now, we've seen this descending line of resistance in the daily Bitcoin RSI, similar to what we have seen in the past. And if we're simply looking at the last couple of times where we finally saw a breakout in the daily Bitcoin RSI above these major descending lines of resistance, as we can see here in the price action, once the RSI actually broke out above those lines of resistance, we saw a major bullish reversal out of a short-term pullback into a major bullish move over the next couple of months or so. First of all, if we're looking at this first example right here, if we're measuring out that move from the point of this breakout here in the RSI above that descending line of resistance, from that point, the price of Bitcoin pumped over 80% to the upside over the next 4 months or so. And if we're looking at the second example, from that point of the breakout in the RSI to the next major high in the price of Bitcoin, we pumped for around 5 weeks, just over 1 month, and we pumped around 70% to the upside. And so once again, we're talking about basically a short-term bullish trend lasting at least 1 to 4 months of a move of around 70 to 80% to the upside. And now, obviously, I'm not saying that we're definitely going to see the exact same thing play out again. For example, I would not necessarily be expecting precisely a 70 or 80% move from this local low to the next major high. but we can simply look at these previous examples as an idea of what we could potentially expect in the somewhat short to midterm, as in talking about the next 1 to 2 months or so. But just for fun, if we're measuring out a 70 to 80% move in the price of Bitcoin from the local low right here, a 70% move would take the price of Bitcoin up towards around $100,000 per Bitcoin, and an 80% move would take the price of Bitcoin up towards around $105,000 per Bitcoin. And now, once again, I am not saying that that's definitely going to happen, because there's no such thing as a guarantee, but I'm just sharing what has happened previously when we've seen this signal flash. And so that just gives you an idea of potentially what could be coming in the next few months or so. But it's important to understand that at least at the time of recording this video, this signal in the daily Bitcoin RSI is not yet confirmed, because the RSI by default goes off candle closes. And so we at least need to see this daily candle close confirm with the RSI above this line of resistance. But even though we have not yet seen the confirmation as of recording this video, we are getting very close to potentially confirming this breakout in the daily Bitcoin RSI. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, we can see right now the price of Bitcoin is getting extremely close to potentially breaking out above this descending line of resistance for this massive falling wedge pattern. First of all, the support line for this falling wedge, which has been support multiple times for the price, is sitting currently at around 58,000 approximately, with this descending line of resistance sitting at around 63.5 to 64,000. And so ideally, we need to see at least a solid daily candle close, but ideally a couple of candle closes above 64,000 in order to actually confirm this breakout here on the daily time frame for this massive falling wedge pattern. And there's two ways we can take a look at the price target for this pattern. We can simply look at the top of the wedge, which is sitting at around 72,000 as a major price target to the upside once we actually confirm the breakout above this resistance. Or if we're taking a look at the measured move for that breakout to the upside, if we see that breakout above that resistance confirm, then that also sets up a price target at around 74,000, which is very close to the all-time high. And so basically, once we confirm a strong breakout with candle closes on the daily time frame above 64,000, then the next major price targets are simply these local highs at around 72 to 74,000. And if we're zooming into the much shorter term, it is safe to say on the 2-hour time frame that this bullish divergence that I've been talking about since much lower prices has played its part very well. And as I've also been saying over the last 2 days in my last 2 videos here on the channel, I've been saying that this bullish divergence is one of the main reasons just in the short term that I'm starting to scale into a new long position. But obviously it was only one of the reasons. There were a few other reasons, like for example, the drop in the DXY, and also due to the fact that we had already pulled back pretty far in the price of Bitcoin during a larger bullish trend. And so once again, due to those multiple bullish signals flashing on the chart just over the last couple of days, due to all of those reasons, as I've been saying since those lower prices here on this channel, I am already starting to scale into a long position. And I've been reading some comments, and some people are saying that I should actually show my trades in these videos. And so here is this trade that I've already been talking about over the last few days once again. And as of right now, the stop loss for this long position, as you can see right here, is already sitting above my entry price, which means in the worst case scenario, if the price just flash crashes right now to the downside, that would trigger my stop loss and exit me out of the trade automatically in profits. And so once again, in the worst case scenario, this trade still makes profits. And in the best case scenario, obviously, if the price just continues pumping to the upside, and especially if we see this breakout for this falling wedge, then obviously I would continue to hold that Bitcoin long position up towards those higher price targets. And now, if we actually struggle around this area of resistance, if we struggle around 63 to 64,000, so basically if we cannot really break out above that level and we start either consolidating or start basically pulling back, getting a bit of a rejection from that resistance, then essentially in that case, I may take a little bit of profits off the table out of this Bitcoin long position right here. But once again, the remainder of the trade, I'll just keep open after I take a bit of profits off the table, and that remainder of the trade will either continue profiting as we go higher, or once again, if we simply pull all the way back down, the remainder of that trade will just close in profits anyway with that stop loss. And a pro tip for any of the traders out there that may not already know, some of you might already know this, but for long positions, I always like to trade in inverse perpetual swaps, which basically means using Bitcoin as the position margin. And the reason behind that is simply because the profits are calculated and paid out in Bitcoin. So for a long position, obviously, if the price is going to the upside and I'm profiting from that position, if I'm also getting paid out in Bitcoin, that's even better if the price goes higher. And so basically, when I'm taking profits out of this long position, what I'm actually doing is just taking more Bitcoin out of the trade and holding that Bitcoin as just spot Bitcoin. And so by doing this, I'm able to turn my existing Bitcoin into even more Bitcoin as the price goes higher. And then, of course, if the price goes higher, I also profit from the US dollar value going up. And in case you're wondering, I'm taking this trade right here, and I take basically all of my trades for Bitcoin and crypto over on Bybit. So I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit in the description down below and in the pinned comment. And in fact, if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account and deposit on that account, then you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. And also, if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can claim an exclusive 200 USDT airdrop position. And so obviously, if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitflex. And so I'll also make sure to leave a link to Bitflex down below this video as an alternative crypto exchange. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we can see just recently the price of Bitcoin took out a lot of liquidity to the upside, which was sitting at around 62,500 approximately. But there's still a lot of liquidity above the price at around 64.7K to 65K. And in terms of downside liquidity, there's only some liquidity at around 56,500. But especially if we're zooming out to larger timeframes on the liquidation heat map, we can still see a lot more liquidity above the price compared to below the price. For example, we have this major area of liquidity right here, once again at around 67,500, and we also have more liquidity to the upside at around 71,500 to 72,000. And so these areas of liquidity are kind of acting as magnets for the price of Bitcoin, basically pulling Bitcoin towards those areas. And basically, once the price crosses above those levels on the chart, then billions of dollars of short positions will get liquidated. And so that could potentially cause more of a short squeeze to the upside, which is also something that I've talked about recently here on the channel. And another reason as to why I've talked about a potential short squeeze happening right now, which is potentially what's happening right now here in the price of Bitcoin, is due to the Bitcoin and crypto funding rates. Because what's actually surprising me quite a lot right now, honestly, is even while the price of Bitcoin is spiking to the upside in the short term, having a decent bounce back to the upside, the funding rates are very, very negative. And so what this tells us is this is a spot-driven rally. This is a lot of demand on the spot market buying up Bitcoin and not many people trying to long the market. There's still a lot of people in terms of traders trying to short Bitcoin. And so once again, this is making shorting Bitcoin very expensive as the short positions are having to pay more and more funding fees to the long positions because the funding rates are negative. And so once again, as I've already been saying over the last few days, this is yet another ingredient of a potential short squeeze, which could potentially send the price a lot higher to liquidate those short positions. But anyway, with that being said, getting into the Ethereum part of this video, this is on the weekly time frame, and we're still seeing yet another perfect bounce from that 2.9K level of support. And obviously on the larger timeframes here on the weekly chart, we're still currently within a much larger bullish trend, forming higher lows and higher highs on the larger timeframes, also known as a bull market. And so as always, it's important to understand the difference between the different time frames. Of course, from time to time in the short term, we can look a little bit more bearish, but that can actually occur during a bull market. And if we're taking a look at the daily ETH to US dollar chart, right now we're continuing that short-term bounce from this exact level of support, which was once again sitting right at around 2.9K. And this descending line of resistance for this falling wedge pattern is sitting at around 3.3K. And we could also find some resistance at this high, which is also sitting just underneath 3.3K. And so in order to actually confirm the breakout for this falling wedge, obviously we need to see a confirmed breakout above this line of resistance in order to actually set up the bullish price target in play, which is basically sitting at around the top of the wedge at around 4,000 to 4.1k once we actually see a confirmed breakout above this resistance, which as of right now has not yet happened. And if we're taking a look at that 8-hour time frame, we can see the price has been bouncing in the short term from this exact area of support that I've already been talking about for a while now on the channel, sitting in between 28.50 to 29.50. And not only was the price bouncing from this important area of support, we were also bouncing from exactly oversold territories, which is also what I've been talking about recently here on the channel. Because if we're looking at the last couple of times where the RSI on the 8-hour time frame entered into oversold territories, both of those times happened right at around a major bounce back to the upside in the price. And now it's important to understand that this oversold signal by itself is not necessarily enough to confirm the bottom for the pullback, because obviously, as we saw back here, for example, we ended up eventually continuing a little bit lower later on. And even just here, we saw a short-term bounce and then continued a little bit lower over the next few days. And so this oversold signal is only a very short-term signal, which is basically already playing out, just as we can see here over the last couple of days. And so it's still a possibility that the price of ETH could potentially be within this choppy sideways price range unless we actually see a confirmed breakout above these resistance levels. First of all, we have this area of resistance in between 3.2k to 32.50, and we also have a level of resistance right here at around 33.50. And so once again, in order to start flipping overly bullish again on the price of ETH here in the short term, in terms of the short-term trend, we ideally need to actually confirm a breakout above these resistance levels. But believe it or not, you can actually make a lot of easy profits from choppy sideways price action just like this. And if you want to know how to do that, then stick around to the end of this video to find out more. But first, taking a look at Solana, also on the 8-hour time frame, and right now, as of recording this video, the price of Solana is running into this exact descending line of resistance, which is sitting at around 144 to 145 approximately. And so once again, this is something that I've already been talking about over the last few days. I've been saying how we're most likely going to bounce from this exact area of support, which is playing out exactly as expected. And I've been saying how we're likely going to run into this area of resistance where the price could potentially struggle at. But if we actually see a confirmed breakout above around 144 to 145, then in that case, we also have this area of resistance in between 150 to 155. We have a level of resistance at 160 and another area of resistance in between 167 to 172. And as for short-term support, we have support in this price range in between 120 to 128 and more support in between 99 to 106. And also very similar to Ethereum, not only was Solana bouncing from this area of support in the price action, we were also bouncing from oversold territories here in the 8-hour RSI. But it's important to mention that with this short-term bounce to the upside, this has actually reset the RSI to the upside as well, which technically now gives us a little bit more room again to the downside if we actually see confirmed rejections from these resistance levels. And so once again, that's why I've also been saying that we need to confirm a breakout above these short-term resistance levels in order to actually start flipping more bullish again in terms of the short-term trend and momentum. And if you want to trade these moves in the price of Solana or any other crypto, then once again, check out those links down below this video if you want to claim those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.